just right now. Good afternoon, Atlanta. Welcome to WCEG Network. We're on WCEG TalkRadio.com. We are veterans today. I am Herman Anderson. My co-host is Anthony Aiken. Our guest today is Reverend Eldson McGhee. Let me give you a little bit of information before we get started. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. You can follow us on several ways. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can also log in at www.wcegtalkradio.com. And our disclaimer is the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests, not WCEG Network. And WCEG is a nonprofit. Our business office number is 404-490-8646. Again, it's 404-490-8646. I am Herman Anderson. My buddy is Anthony Aikens, and after Anthony, we have Reverend McGhee introduce himself. I'll read his short bio, then we'll go from there. Good morning, good afternoon, Anthony.
Good afternoon to you, my brother Herman. How are you? And to all of our guests out there in listening to us today, I just want to let you know I'm homesick today. Behind me is my great Cooper River Bridge in Charleston, South Carolina. So I'm thinking about being in Chucktown and looking at families. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you for taking time to spend an hour with us as we go over some very, very interesting and challenging news for our veterans that are listening to us worldwide. So not only hello to Herman, but greetings to our guest, Pastor McGhee, and also to our production engineer, Ms. Vivian, and let her know that we appreciate all the things that she does for us to make us be on the air every 2 weeks. So back to you, Herman.
Okay, and let me read a little bit of information about Reverend McGhee, and then we'll get started. Reverend McGhee is a Vietnam veteran. Since being certified as a paralegal in 1974, being a Vietnam combat paratrooper, wounded in action in 1968, and medical retired from the VA employment in 2002, Reverend McGhee, so when veterans or families and community help shortchange, he wrote a book, Shortchange. He's a VSO, a veteran service officer, and he's a lot of other things, does a lot of other things. One thing, we are working on a project in Piedmont Park for the Sons of Atlanta. All of the sons of Fulton County that was killed in action in Vietnam. And I'll stop there. And good morning, good afternoon, Reverend McGhee. How are you?
I'm truly blessed, Herman, and I've been smiling ever since I got on the show, because it's so good to see you and Brother Atkins again. I've been on your show before and had the opportunity to talk with veterans in the community about the things that I believe that are relevant. And today we're on the verge of some very important issues in our country. And even though I want to talk about the Sons of Atlanta, but I just want to shout out to veterans throughout the country and all over the world that might be listening to the show. We pledge allegiance to the flag. That's a reminder of what we serve for.
Excuse me.
What we serve for. And I just wanted to caution all veterans, family members, and dependents throughout the world that what we serve for right now is not only in jeopardy, it's in danger.
Okay, let's you and Anthony and myself, we all on the same hot button. So let's Anthony, what we were talking about at the beginning, you want to start with that topic?
Yes, I think it's something extremely important, especially coming from a financial posture, Pastor McGhee, and being a VSO, I'm sure, and a paralegal, that you're quite aware of two major financial changes that will be affecting veterans and their families this year and as we move into 2023. Number one, the VA announced, and I'd like for you to elaborate on this a little bit, that since 1981, veterans will see the largest cost of living COLA increase due to inflation since 1981. So if you parallel that to the recent announcement with the Social Security indicating that it's going to be the largest increase in Social Security in a number of years to 8.7%. What are your comments about that? Or have you heard anything else different?
Oh, yes, I've heard that about the increases that's coming across with Social Security and veteran benefits, both compensation and pension. The problem with that is that the inflation numbers really apprails that issue. You know, the increase in our cost of living, it doesn't really, you look at the increase in inflation just over the last 3 months, and we see that impact is very minimal, if at all, when you get in the grocery stores. And I think that's something that I want to talk about later. But really, yeah, the income increases are real. They have been targeted to go into effect, and we get ours in December, which is only 2 months away, you know, rather than the first of the year. But you know, we got some other issues that are really urgent, and I think that we as veterans need to focus.
Well, and I think what that does is what you and Anthony both said. It's benefits that we have earned, our community have earned, even though over the years they should have been more. But this is benefits that we all have earned, and we deserve them, and the community deserves them. Our family deserve it.
Yes.
I think Pastor McGhee made a very
one thing, Herman.
All right.
Now that the VA has increased some other economic benefits, and I'm hoping that Tony is going to mention those too.
Yes, yeah, there are a lot of other benefits. For instance, the SHA grant, SHA grant and vehicle allowances, all of those features that veterans get through their particular compensation package will be increasing. For instance, the SHA grant is going to increase from $100,989 to $109,000. The vehicle allowance is going up to, I think, $25,000. So you'll see these things going across the board, which means you'll also see things like unemployability increasing. So all of these things that you'll see a number start to change and be around the 1st of November, 1st of December, I'm sorry. And Pastor McGhee, have you heard what the military compensation number will be? I know the VA and the Social Security, but what about the retired military pay? Have you heard of a number based on that for increase?
Yeah, I did read it, but I didn't, you know, not being a military retiree, I didn't actually put a whole lot of attention to it, but it's a little bit more than VA.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
A little bit more than VA, but I can't recall the number that it is, but it's a little bit more than VA.
Yeah, and you know, the disappointing part about it is with Social Security, so you get the 8.7% increase, but then they're going to increase your Medicare.
Yeah.
So, you know, so, so, you know.
Inflation, they're hitting us from every side.
Yeah.
But there's some other economic benefits other than those that came down too, that I think a lot of us, well, they're saying about 40,000 more families and will be eligible for the caregivers money. Now,
right. I was going to mention that. Yeah.
That could be a big help to a lot of households. that will help cover some of that inflationary, some of the inflation that we see when we go to pay our bills.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely important. Just to let our guests know that, you know, being legally blind, I haven't driven a car since 2013 and all those kind of things. My wife helps me tremendously with taking me from A to B, helping with medication, the whole 9 yards, cooking, food, all that. So anything we can do to assist with the caregivers, I'm behind 150%. So we're actually going through the process right now. And you know, you have to go through your primary care provider, to a social worker, and all those things to get that form started. And you can do all of these things online. You know, filling it out for the caregivers compensation. And there are two levels of caregivers. There's a compensation package, which deals with the caregivers comprehensive, but then there's the strict caregivers where they can help you with another aspect of caregiving. So I agree with you, Pastor McGhee. There'll be some other things that'll be affecting a lot of families other than the dollars.
Well, let's talk about one thing that, you know, in order to get in the system, the claim process. No, we got to get started. So just I know Reverend McGhee, you do claim clinics, and you are doing and you still do them. So let's take a veteran that's haven't even filed their first claim, even though they might have been out of the military for 50 years. How do we get them started?
Well, first of all, if he's been out of the military that long, he's probably not registered at the VA.
That's my point.
First, to get registered. You know, a lot of guys don't understand the process, the need to go get registered at the VA. It is critical in order to get your benefits. If you're not registered, then you're an uncounted veteran, even though you might be counted in the VA allocation bill because they count all veterans. But you need to get registered. That's the first step.
Pastor McGhee, why don't you tell our listeners where would they go to get registered in the VA?
They normally would go to the VA medical centers. You know, go to the VA medical center. That's where you get registered at in the VA. You go to the VA medical centers and you get registered. Now that don't necessarily mean that you got to get your treatment at VA. This is just the process to get your benefits, because all benefits, every time you file a claim, and I'm going to talk about the process of filing a claim, if you would like at a later time.
Pastor McGhee, but I'm trying to say there are two avenues. We know there's the VA hospital and the VA regional centers. So let's be clear with our veterans where they really need to go. Okay,
now let me kind of exclude you a minute on that. If you're not registered with the medical center, and that's the first step. You got to register with the medical center. That's the first step in order to, because every claim involves medical records. So all of your medical records, you can get them through your private providers. But the best way to do, when you go register at the VA, take those medical records down. So when you do register with the Benefits Administration, you know, your records are accessible. Now, under the new system, there is an automated system at play at VA right now. If you file a claim, and if you went through the registration process properly and got your medical records and everything at the medical centers where they're supposed to be, then your claim could be resolved within 60 days. You know, it's no longer you have to wait for years to get a claim through the VA, but you got to go through the correct process. The correct process is that you go to the medical centers. If you got all your medical records, and you know, a lot of us have medical records, get them to the VA medical center. Then you get registered at the Benefits Administration when you get ready to file a claim.
And one thing that me and Anthony are always talking about is for veterans to get the best results. Some of us learn the hard way. If you try to do it yourself, it's
correct.
You don't get good results.
Go.
So we recommend a VSO, Veteran Service Organization. You have any comments on that?
Well, I'm a VSO. You know,
I know that, and you wanted the best. But I mean,
See,
but people that just,
okay,
let's say someone listening at this program and they decided they want to file for benefit.
I'm gonna say this. I'm a BSO, Vietnam Veteran American, American Legion, all these guys are BSOs. Now, my focus, Herman, as you know, lately been focusing to get veteran benefits recognized more on the local level. Now, the Georgia Department of Veteran Services is the entity that all Georgia residents, whether they previously was not living in Georgia or not, can go to one of their offices, and that's who help that will help them file a claim. You know, rather than looking to the American Legion, Vietnam Veterans of America, who are BSOs, naturally they're congressionally chartered to help veterans file their claims and get their benefits from VA. But that's just part of it, because now if you look through the industry, you're seeing a lot of these chapters, they don't have a service officer. They don't have individuals that are qualified to help you file a claim. They just don't. They have what they call national service officer, and they are overwhelmed. And you follow me? Yeah, overwhelmed.
Yeah, totally understand.
So I'm not
overwhelmed.
to mislead the audience to think that VSOs are they're all in of getting the claim. Now, what else is happening at VA? VA is moving towards self-filing. Self-filing. That when they set up the e-benefit system, where you have to be registered with VA, you can actually go online right now. They done moved it over from the e-benefits to va.gov, but you can go online right now. Any individual that I'm looking back at what Herman is saying. Before you do this, contact a VSO.
Yep.
Contact a VSO. But you can go online and file your own claim within 30 minutes.
You know, I'm surprised, and I'm sure Herman agree with this, that the number of veterans that still do not know or understand what a veteran service organization is, or have met a veteran service officer. And I'm talking about individuals who've been retired 10, 15, 20 years. Once they took off the uniform, they just divorced themselves away from the system that they served in for whatever reason. And every time Herman and I are out, and I'm sure you do, we encourage them all that you need to go and seek out the benefits that you've earned. They're not giving you anything. This is what you earned. When you raise your right hand to say I will defend this nation, as you stated earlier, protect this flag, that entails everything. Whatever came with that, you did it.
Well, that is true, and Reverend McGhee made a great point about Georgia Department of Veteran Services. All state has Department of Veteran Services, and that's their job to service and help veterans. And
Yes.
So we have the VSOs, and we have other options. Actually, the State Department of Veteran Services, and a lot of states have very good Department of Veteran Services. So that is the option.
Yeah.
I want to stress that, Herman, a little bit further, because see, now what we've been doing with Vietnam Veterans of America is preparing veterans to file their claim. We still help and assist veterans in filing their claim, but we actually have an online tutorial service where we teach you how to do this self-filing through the e-benefits and non.va.gov system, because the VA is moving towards self-filing because of the changes in the law. Now, you got to always remember that we are a country of laws, and all these benefits are laws that our elected officials legislate for us. And sometimes and legislating that these laws, they don't give them the authority to do everything that's needed for veterans with their benefits. And we noticed this when they just passed the PAC Act, right? The PAC Act. We want to make sure that we look at the extensions of benefits that this one piece of legislation brought generational expansions of benefits. Starting back from with Agent Orange, they gave more locations, right? And they actually put hypertension on the agent. Now that is a biggie. If you looking at it from my background, because I do claims, and most of my clients had hypertension.
Yeah.
so I'm just talking about my community. I mean, you know, and looking at how these benefits should be gotten. If you understood this, and I often say this, and Herman said, if every veteran got his benefit, the earned benefits that they got from their military service, it would change the economic landscape of our community.
Big time.
Let's talk and get our topics in today. We had suicide prevention on one of the topics that we wanted to discuss. So we know that there's a lot of effort over the last few years being put in, a lot of money being put out by the VA to reduce suicide prevention. What are you guys' opinion on how this is helping?
You know, I'm with Vanessa Adams, right? Now, this is one of the young people that's doing a great job with suicide prevention. And also, she is one of the young people that was able to get some of that grant money that Fulton County just put out to help suicide. So this is something that my chapter has been, our chapter at Herman has been working on for several years now. We've actually had some outreaches to the Christian community, actually had churches hold seminars. It is absolutely essential that we understand that this is a issue of crisis. You know, it should be an issue of crisis, but it should be an issue of crisis for the whole community. You're talking about 22 young people committing suicides every day. Now, what I've learned through my experience with this issue is that the families got to be empowered. The families have to not just, you know, be left with this issue in their house, because suicides don't just pop up, especially when they're coming out of the military.
No.
And we're dealing with people that sons have killed themselves. And they saw these mental issues before that tragedy took place, but was helpless.
Yeah.
Helpless to do intervention. So what Vanessa and some of the other people that we see in the community are doing is galvanizing the community now to point toward not just addressing the issue, but becoming aware of the issue and getting legislative changes so that we can make sure that DOD and VA is taking responsibility for these issues.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%. Just one suicide is too many, and now we're talking 22, and I think that's a conservative number. We've heard that number a while. Now 22, I'm sure that number's escalated, but we need to do as much as possible. We need to be behind it as much as possible. We need to talk about it and make sure that the public and military veterans are aware of these programs, because it's lethal. It's a one-time game. There's no do-overs.
It is
No do-overs in this. So that's something we need to continuously talk about. And Herman and I have spoken on this radio show about, I mean, case in points of a Marine colonel, retired Marine colonel, who had been trying to get support and been dealing with his PTSD issues, goes to the parking lot in full military uniform and takes his life because no one was listening to him. They couldn't get to him. And he saw no other way out. So we have to do something.
Now you are exactly right, Colonel, because now that's why we'll see that Herman is having an event on the 5th. And, you know, we will have some people there that's ready to help educate the community. You know, that this is something that we know that this is something that we just can't. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. It's a stigma. It's you know, the preachers don't want to talk about it. I'm just telling y'all straight up, the preachers don't want to talk about it. And what we got to do, we got to provoke the conversation.
Yep.
We got to do that. And as Reverend McGhee say, I'm having a Veterans Day program at Riverdale, November the 5th. WCEG, Anthony, as we did with 911, it's going to be the same setup. So we have eight tables there. About 4 of them are dealing with health issues. So we go emphasize that, and so we'll like I say, WCEG is part of the program, and Anthony and myself will be there. So as you know, 9/11 went great, Anthony. We're gonna do it better this time.
Yeah. I mean, anytime we can speak to veterans and their families, it's a plus. The support and services that you provide, Pastor McGhee, to veterans is a plus. We just need to continue talking about it, keep the dialogue going, have people check out our Facebook page, listen to some of our former shows, because it's something that we cannot stop.
Well, and to add to that, Vanessa and I have partnered up to do a series of town hall meetings on the issue. You know, so we'll be doing some town hall meetings, especially in the Fulton County libraries over the next few months. So yeah, we got to find every opportunity we can to have this conversation in our community, and you know, to get the community ready to understand that they're neighbors. These are folks in their communities. You know, they're suffering right in their community, and sometimes they can see the sign, but won't say anything because of the stigma.
The stigma.
The stigma. We got to become a loving community again.
Yeah.
You know, we got to be able to we are our brother's keeper. You know, and this is why we're gonna do the series of ending veteran suicide town hall meetings in Fulton County. And I'm hoping that we will shame some of the other counties to do the same thing, because this is an issue that we got to raise the conversation and educate the community and rally the resources where they need to be. Now, one of the things that we're doing, we got a case, and it's coming from a Vet 22 group, which is our main suicide prevention entity in our little coalition or in our little network. We're developing a case to make sure that this mother who lost her son is going to be recognized as a DIC. You follow me, Tom? You know, see, if we start doing that, you know, and that raised the bar a little bit. We got to make these folks accountable.
Accountable.
Yes, we gotta move to another issue, which is voting. We know veterans vote, and we as we talked about on this program all the time, what I mentioned today is voting strategies. So I mean, I want to discuss not only veterans vote. We know we vote. I think we should become more educated with the topics and vet the people that we vote for more. So what do you guys say on that?
Well, that's a big subject for me, the voting issue. And as a matter of fact, I went to a city council meeting last night for the city of South Fulton. It's been advertised that this particular county is 108,000 people. But yet, key issues were on the agenda, voting and a few other things. Less than 100 people showed up. The apathy towards voting, to me, is appalling. People tend to forget too quickly the sacrifices, the due diligence that have been paid by many for us to enjoy the freedom that we endure. And we're not 100% free. We're not free in the mind, which affects our livelihoods, which affects our communities, which affects us because we don't take enough interest, and I say we, veterans and others, to understand what the key issues are and to be able to step up to address those issues with the individuals that we went and voted into office. So with the upcoming midterm elections, I think it's extremely important. If we haven't learned the lessons back from 2 years ago, when we had the exit of a president that talked about he needed 11,000 more votes to remain in the presidency, even though he's officially lost. But then again, out of 108,000 people that voted for the mayor 2 years ago, in that particular community, less than 10,000 people voted. So the apathy, the nonchalantness is something that we have to continuously address every time there's an opportunity to vote, and to vote your conscience for what you think is right for you, your community, and your family.
That is great. How did you know I was going to ask you that question?
Great mind think alike. Men of like ideals, you know, like ideals, men of like ideals. So Pastor Meek, someone like you, for instance, you're to me a trumpet, and I'm a former trumpet player. To me, you toot that horn every time you see a veteran to provide them great information to move forward. We're tired of the veterans saying like, hey, if I apply, I'm going to take someone else's benefit. Hello?
Yes.
Where did that come from? Where in the world did that come from? So we need to continue to be that trumpet.
Reverend McGhee,
Yeah, Herman, you know what I feel about the vote. Now, I just want to shout out to Cleo Winslow, who's been on my show for the last couple of months, talking about the same thing that the Colonel just talked about. The empathy. You know, she told me that less than 20% of the eligible voters elected the last mayor of Atlanta, Georgia.
Less than 20.
Now, this is my hometown. You know, I almost got up to see and said, no, ain't no way. She said, I'm telling you the truth. Less than 20%. That was about 40,000 folks. That's who determining the rent hikes. Now y'all come on with me for a minute. That's who determining the streets not being fixed. That's determining how these schools are not providing the educational opportunities for our children. The vote determines everything. It determines the purse string. It determines how much your income. Listen, Georgia got the lowest minimum wage law in the country. Like I'm gonna put it like this now. We done went to sleep. Malcolm talked about this back in when we was kids, Tom. When we was youth. He said it's gonna be a matter of the bullet or the ballot.
Yep.
We just didn't hear him. We're not applying good sense to this situation. We're not applying that, and we ain't done no more. You know, we got a bunch of folks that's really educated, but they are not communicating with each other. So we got this vast disconnect. We got to get people talking about things that matter instead of the drama that they creating on social media.
well, that's true. We got to talk about the other topics, but quickly, I think we got a generation issue. People, the generation younger than us, see the world different than we see it, and I don't have an answer for that. That's just a comment. So let's talk about our project, Reverend McGhee, the Piedmont.
Now, I'm so happy, Herman, about where we at with the Sons of the Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial Project. we have gotten the, well, we got land space in Piedmont Park on, for the front lawn between 14th and 12th Street. And we just got approval from the National Park Service to start construction. So we are looking to do a groundbreaking around Veterans Day this year. The groundbreaking would take place, you know, we'll give a date and time, but our projection now is that we will be dedicating the memorial on May Day, on Memorial Day in May 2023. Now, anybody that want to see what we're doing with this project, just go to www.sonsofatlanta.org, sonsofatlanta.org, and see what we're doing. I want you to click on the 240 soldiers, because I want you to look at these faces. These are young men from Fulton County that were killed in Vietnam. Yeah. And what shocked me, now these are all races, so we talk about veterans. We're talking about, they actually come from 9 cities in Fulton County. So what we'll do, this is the first time in the history of Fulton County that these 9 cities ever did anything together. So we are marketing this as a unifying project to bring communities together. We need it more now than ever before. These young men, most of them didn't get to be 21 years old. And they couldn't even vote. They didn't have the right to vote when they died in battle for this democracy. So this should be a reason why we go vote, why we go take up the mantle that they laid for us. So that's why we're bringing it. We want to make it local. We want people to feel it because of the empathy that we have toward this democracy. We have a lot of time. We was fighting Russia in 1968 when I was wounded. The same Russia that we are up against right now. Why? We kept doing business with them. And they have bought our body politics. They have caused a disunion in this country like never before. But what we want to remind people of is that we have paid too much. We have sacrificed too much for this democracy to give it up now. So the Sons of Atlanta project is a message to our community locally. It's the same 58,000 that you see on the wall in DC. So we're challenging every county, every community in this country to moralize these young men, because they did something that we else don't want to talk about. We integrated the military. We keep forgetting. We keep forgetting that less than 100 years ago, this country was ruled by a minority. They were all white men. White women, they couldn't vote. Nobody of color could vote. So it's a history lesson.
Yes, it is.
It's a reminder of from which we come and why we coming where we're at right now. So the Sons of Atlanta, we want you to support. If you want to buy a brick now, to put your name in the post, to say, I support this, you can go to that same website and you can purchase a brick. You can get one for $100. Ain't gonna get nothing but your name and rank on it, but you can get one up to $1,000 that can make a statement. Or you can make it to somebody that wasn't even in the Vietnam War. You know, just buy a brick, support this project, because this project, we hope, gonna make us come back together as a community, as we started out to do after the Emancipation Proclamation.
Well, I know Herman joined me in commending you, because this has been a passion, in addition to you being passionate about being a paralegal and a veteran service officer, but you've been very passionate about this Sons of Vietnam memorial, and to get it approved, not only in the state of Georgia, the city of Atlanta, and now the National Park Service behind it. I salute you and everybody else that had this vision and that dream to honor and recognize those 240 soldiers from the various locations throughout Georgia that lost their lives in defense of our nation. So thank you very much, Pastor McGhee. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Rev McGhee, can you adjust your camera a little bit so we can see your face a little bit more? We got about 10 minutes left, so we gotta go through what we're gonna do. And one thing that's coming up is Veterans Day, which is actually 11th. But as I spoke earlier, Veterans Helping Veterans, my organization, along with WCEG and Riverdale Town Center, we are all partnering to have a Veterans Day, have the Veterans Day program on November the 5th at Riverdale Town Center, starting at 10 o'clock. We are going to, the format is we are the 4th, which we will be on the air. We will have one of the guests on there. Our speaker is going to be Judge Mike Anthony of the Clayton County Veteran Treatment Court.
Yes, very good.
He's our guest speaker, and we like I said, we're gonna have information there for claims. We will have the VA representing us in the Georgia Department of Veteran Services, along with Reverend McGhee's organization, and we will have health vendors and mental health vendors there also. So we will get the time is November the 5th, starting at
10 a.m.
We will get the flyer out.
Riverdale, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, Nick, to bring those entities together, sort of like a one-stop shopping where individuals can gather information and do those kinds of things. Will there be an opportunity for individuals, since there's a switch from e-benefits to va.gov to update their files? Will the VA representative be able to help veterans with that aspect?
The Georgia,
in order to register with e-benefits, now they didn't complicate it so much. I used to be able to do it, and I still can do it, but it takes me maybe an hour to get a person registered because of the way they done moved it over. But you can go to the Atlanta VA. You can go to the Atlanta VA on the first floor, and they will help you. They will put you in the system.
Okay.
Anthony, my plan is for the representative from the VA to be able to give the veterans the step-by-step process to do it, and normally my organization has claims representatives every 2 weeks. So if they can't do it, then they can bring it back to us.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So November 5th, Riverdale Town Center, 10 a.m. Listeners,
you're on the program.
I know, but pass the word. Just make sure that people are there, because this is so important. You know, it took me, Pastor McGhee, it was so interesting to hear you say early on that the system has been so refined now that within 6 months you can have a decision. It took me almost 28 months under the old system to get to sit down and say you're rated.
Well, let me tell you a little secret. I tested the system myself in March, right? I filed my first claim in March in 20 years. And in June, it was finished.
Wow.
It was finished.
Let me ask you a question. This is in regards to claims, because I get this question asked of me often. And sometimes after listening to their question in regards, and this is all about the compensation aspect, explain to our audience, let's say Herman Anderson is 90% disabled, unemployable, so he's receiving a military compensation for being retired, he's receiving a VA check because of his disability, and whatever other compensation he's getting. However, this person said, well, you know what? I think something is missing. And what do you mean? He said, well, I'm now having sleep apnea issue, or I'm having some diabetes issue, whatever. And I filed before, nothing happened. Should I file again? That's one. And some individuals said, well, if I file this new deal, it's a possibility that they will reduce my claim from, let's say, 90% down to 80%. Can you address that? That is a very systematic way to do it, and they shouldn't have any fears in their minds.
We got 2 minutes, so let's do it.
Now, the first thing, they cannot reduce your benefits unless the medical show that you have improved. Now, what happens with a lot of veterans, they get a rating, they start going to the doctor.
Yep.
So they give them evidence that their disability has improved. So when they file for another claim, they note that in their records. So that's when they get the reduction. But normally and legally, they can't just reduce you because you're trying to get get some increase in your disability. You know, so I want to kind of clarify that.
That's very good. That's very good information.
That's what that.
So that's, we pretty much run out of time, so we want to thank everybody for
Okay.
a great program today. You had 3 Vietnam veterans on here, and
Yep.
we enjoyed it. Thank you, Reverend McGhee.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pastor McGhee. Good seeing you again.
Good seeing you, brother. Thank y'all for having me.
So to our listeners, this is the completion of another Veterans Today. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We have a program coming up next on WCEG Network. Stay tuned for our new program. This is Herman Anderson, Anthony Aiken.
We'll see you later, Herman.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Have a good one. See you later.